Let's ride. Broncos country.
Uh-oh.
Or I should say Steel City. Let's
Yeah.
ride. Let's do this thing.
Are you ready? I'm ready.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Welcome back to the podcast, y'all, where self-improvement is the movement. Today, I have an entrepreneur, the owner of Collegiate Sports Connections, a firm that helps college athletes get their NIL deals, primarily working through the University of Texas. Podcaster, now with his podcast, Now It's Legal, works in healthcare as well, does a little bit of everything. Grayson Blake.
Thanks for having me on.
How you
Let's
like the
go.
intro, man?
I love it.
You like it? Okay.
I work with Texas. I started with Texas. That's how I got started. And then I got recruited by SMU. And then once I got recruited by SMU, I just started getting recruited by all the Power Fives in Texas. And then I finally got ventured out to California, more up in New York, up north area in Florida. So I'm kind of everywhere now. I used to be only at the University of Texas, but as you know, they're the NIL monster that they are now.
Of course.
So yeah.
Man, how is that lifestyle? Just always on the go, always on the road, traveling, meeting different people every single day, man. How is it for you?
I would say it's not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's an amazing opportunity. There's days that I'm tired. There's days that, it's not easy at all. It's all about balance. It's about having your mental health right. It's about getting correct sleep, and then just having, time for yourself as well. But don't let that time for yourself be, wasting, right? If you're going to have time for yourself, put the phone away. Relax. Don't look at a screen, because in social media, you're always looking at a screen, and try to find alone time, because in this industry, whether you're podcasting, whether you're owning a business, whether you're working in healthcare, you're always having to expel energy meeting people.
Yeah.
And after you shoot a podcast, you're dead tired, right?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Especially being an introvert like me. Oof.
You're an
introvert? It's not fun. It's not
okay.
fun. It's not fun. But I have really figured out that balance that works for me. Just because, like I said, I did start off naturally introverted, but with what I wanted to do with media, sports media specifically, stuff like this, I knew I had to be more sociable. I knew I had to have a certain energy level that was required for me to excel at the stuff that I want to do, right? So it's kind of, like you said, about balance, not draining myself too much, but still exerting myself enough to where I'm able to squeeze as much juice out of the orange.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I'm glad you kind of brought up mental health and, just taking care of yourself, because the first question I always love to ask my guests, how is your mental health at this current stage in time? How are you feeling, man?
Right now, I'm honestly exhausted. And if you want me to be honest, I'm exhausted, and I'm working in healthcare too, and I had a major setback last week, and I've been trying to get out of a funk. Yeah. Be honest with you, failure, it happened to me. I failed at a level that I wasn't satisfied with, but it's how I respond, and it's about how I go about my day, and making sure that I don't let it get in the way of other things. So I'm not, failing here and failing there, because failure is a part of the process.
Oh, yeah.
L's are going to be taken if you're going to take a risk. Taking a risk is always going to be there. Success, not always going to be there, right? Just because you take a risk doesn't mean you're going to get paid off for it. Just because you expel time doesn't mean you're going to get a return. And so if you're okay with that feeling, you're okay with having failed, having not succeeded the way you wanted to, and you're okay with getting up and waking up the next day and tackling it. This is entrepreneurship, risk taking, being in media. That's the job for you. But it's all about the response. So, but my mental health is great, man. It's a balance thing. It's a balancing act, and not every day is the best day ever.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah. No, but it's the reality of it. You know what I mean? Not just with what we're doing, but in life in general, dude. there's just some days where it's like, damn, you know?
Facts.
And it's okay. I want people to know that feeling down is okay. Like you said, it's about the response.
Yeah.
It's about what comes after that. Whether it's, you had a bad day, whether it's you failed at something.
Didn't meet the expectation or the goal that you wanted.
Exactly.
And when I'm working with these athletes, main thing that I say is it's okay to fail, it's okay to be down, but staying there is not okay.
Because it's a choice at that point.
At that point, if you let a failure of day, let's say we fail, right, on Wednesday. You're going to drag that into the whole next week? Because everybody else is going to rely on you.
Yep.
Nobody knows the L you just took, but it's your job to then present yourself like, bam, let's go ahead. Let's get this. All right, you know what? I don't know if you can curse, but like, F it.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
F it. I got to keep going, right? So in my first NIL deal that I did with the University of Texas, I don't think I've ever said this. The first NIL deal that I did at Texas, I lost $10,000. Money that I didn't have, I borrowed that.
Yeah.
And I thought capital dollars were going to get me to where I needed to go. And I failed miserably.
You learned the hard way.
I learned the hard way, but it also was like, well, is this it for you?
Yeah.
Are you done? And a lot of people were like, oh, so he must be doing NIL. Nah. It turned me into like a whole different beast.
Yeah.
Because now I was like, I'm still down. I'm not going to walk out down, right? I'm just like, hey, don't try to get even. I'm trying to go even higher than that. Yeah. So.
Man, that's great. So what are you up to nowadays? Go ahead and, let's go a little deeper into, what you do. What's a day-to-day looking like for Grayson Blake?
Day-to-day is not every day is the same.
That's the beauty of it too.
Yeah. It's also a curse because some people do better under, a structured schedule and know what they're going to get because they know what their return's going to be. Like every day that I wake up, it's about what I put into each day is what's going to give me my return. I can sleep in all day, but that doesn't give me a very good return on investment.
Yeah.
An investment of the day that I have. You say you got 24, but really you got to sleep about 8. So you already ate up about 30% of your investment, your return. So every day is what you give it. And so I'm working in healthcare. I work with my family, Creative Solutions in healthcare. We own and operate nursing facilities, rehabs, and we partnership with hospitals. So I have that job. And then I started my own sports firm dealing with the NIL. I'm not only my podcasting, but I'm also creating deals and collaborations and doing that world.
Yeah.
So once I work from like 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., I go home, like change my clothes, and I work like for another 2 to 3 hours, or at least I try to. Some days I'm wiped and that's all I got.
Yeah.
Right. But it's all about how you prioritize your time. So there's that.
Working in NIL, take me deeper into it. And for you, how great is it being a vessel for athletes to be able to make the amount of money that, they've deserved for so long?
Oh, it feels great, man. It's so much easier to like endorse other people and speak for other people than speak for yourself.
Yeah.
Because then you get, oh, he's being selfish, right? You get that. Or he's clout chasing or he's ego driven.
Mm-hmm.
You get all that. But if you're like really putting the athlete in front, like using them as a vessel, the firms that I've partnered with, using them as a vessel, that's like, you're like second and third in line.
Yeah.
It's not about you. Because if it's about you, this thing would come crashing down.
Mm-hmm.
The second it really becomes about me and like all of my, all the things that I've done, so to speak, it doesn't really matter. Because the next day is coming. You got to make it. You got to make something happen. But to help these athletes, get endorsements at this level is crazy. Also, working with their family too, right? Because I'm calling mom, I'm calling dad, calling grandma, whoever takes care of them, right? And I'm like, hey, if like this is a great partnership, your son, your grandson is amazing. Or your granddaughter is amazing. But if they don't want it as much as I do, this is not going to work.
Yeah.
So what I tell them, usually I usually ask them 3 questions. How you feeling? How's that body feeling? Did you go to treatment? Right? Because that's important.
Yeah.
And then I say, how's your mental? Right? Because this is a season, right? This is a season. They're supposed to stay like that.
Yeah.
So I always ask how their mental is. And then I usually say, all right, well, you go to work and I'll go to work. And that's kind of that's how I build the relationship. Yeah.
That's great, man.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go more deeper into the relationships and stuff like that here in a
Sure.
minute. But I do want to take a step back, take a trip back memory lane.
Mm-hmm.
Before all of this even came about, little Grayson growing up, how did he even get to this point?
Oh man. Man, I get a little teary-eyed even thinking about it, bro.
Take a deep breath.
So, man, life is crazy. Life really comes full circle if you let it. Like, if you really let your passion show, like, you don't really change. Like, 8-year-old me always had a microphone in my hand. Always had, I was singing, I was dancing, I was acting. I was always in front of a stage. I always loved, the crowd, the crowd work. And so your life, you go through different avenues and you fail, you have great success, you have a little success here, but you're like, what how can I have all this energy and put it into a passion that I really have, and that is like actually fulfilling, right? Because not everything everybody does is fulfilling to them. Like, I've found out that it's harder for people to find their passion than what people realize. Like, you found your passion, like, that's incredible, because some people go 30 something years and still don't know what they're passionate about. So the fact that I can find that while also being like a trailblazer in a brand new industry at 25, bro, like, I'm blessed. And then I get to like speak for these athletes, and really I have a great connection with these athletes and with these students. Because I am their age, right? And that's a small window, right? I'm slowly getting outside of, right, who's like the eligibility mark. But like, man, it's like a blessing, bro. It's just like a blessing, because I'm a man of God, and I feel like God used me as a vessel to like really speak out for these like student athletes. And also in an industry like sports industry, there's a lot of darkness, right? There's a lot of agents there for the wrong reason. There's a lot of companies who will send bad contracts knowing dang well that that's a bad contract. Yeah. But they'll shove it in front of the athlete's face, and they'll sign it anyways, right? Because what do they know? You're dealing with 17, 18, 20, and 21-year-olds. So, they sometimes take advantage of at what's in front of them. So, hey, as long as I can be a servant of God, hey, let's ride.
You mentioned the word struggle. What were some of those struggles, if you could elaborate, during your journey growing up and getting to this point?
So I didn't have I can have really like a normal childhood, right? Everybody like goes to school, they grow up in the town that they grow up in their hometown, and they go to school, and maybe they go to college. For me, in 7th grade, I went to boarding school, which was like a huge turning point for me, because like I was like 6 hours away from my home in 7th grade, and that severely like popped my little bubble that I was living in. Yeah. And it was 80% international students. Oof. So like the white boys that I know, they're not from Tech, they're from Switzerland. They're from like not here. Yeah. Right. So there was like a huge dynamic that like I had to adjust to and be comfortable with, while also like completely changing up my living circumstances with, like, not having a home cooked meal like every day, or like not waking up and seeing like your parents or like even my sister at the time. Like I was stripped of all of that. Yeah. And it wasn't based on the bad decisions that I made. I made a cognitive decision to be like, it's an opportunity. Yeah, I'll go to boarding school. And then like 4 weeks later, I was in boarding school. Yeah. So that was like a huge struggle for me. But what was even like a bigger eye-opening experience for me is when I came back my senior year to All Saints Episcopal School. That's a private school in Texas in Fort Worth. And all the kids were like complaining about stuff, and I was just grateful to just be there. And like, I was grateful to go home. I was grateful to see my parents every day. I was grateful for like just to be a part like of a community that I grew up in, was like really comfortable with. But I also missed my boarding. Like, I missed the people that I really created a brotherhood with, which I still reach out to like on a day-to-day basis. Like, they always check on me. So, yeah. Then I went to college, 2 years at Ole Miss, and then COVID came. So there's another, like a barrier, a block that came, and I had to come home, work in healthcare, and I was delivering PPE, like mask, gloves, gowns, hand sanitizer to all of our facilities in Texas. So all of that, like, there's never been a lot of consistency in my life.
Stability.
There's like stability. That's a good word. Stability. And so through that, I was really able to identify all of the outliers and just kind of like overcoming it every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I went to boarding school for 3 years. Then I went to the high school for 2 years. Then I go to college for 2 years. And I come back for another 2 years to finish it up. I'm there, like, you know, some people say, oh, I went to this school since I was in kindergarten, or I went to this high school. I mean, I wasn't even in the same high school for 4 years. 2 years in high school, 2 years junior, senior. Yeah, it's just, and then 2 years at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Now I come home, two more years, because I got to finish up college. So it has really never been a lot of like, let's start it, let's finish it.
Yeah.
So maybe that's one of my things that I struggle with, is finishing things that I start. Mm-hmm. And I need to work on that. I know that.
Yeah, so for sure. One of the things that I saw you were talking about one day was one of your main qualities as a person, and something that brought you to this point more than anything, is just being yourself through it all. Talk about the importance of staying true to the man in the mirror, staying true to who you are as a person, regardless of the stuff that's going on externally.
I've always not been good at like faking it out. Like, I always wear my emotions on my face. So like, what you see is what you get. Like, the Grayson that you get at basketball practice, same Grayson that you're gonna get in the business room. Like, same Grayson. Like, I'm gonna be the same everywhere. That's why people really can respect me. And once they understand like who I am, they're like, oh, this kid's like, you know, he's not fake. And you know, being like, I guess being like trying to be something you're not is more tiring than being just true to you.
Yeah.
It's exhausting, because you're like, wait, who am I in front of this person? Wait, am I the same person when I'm talking? You know,
just keeping track of all of that.
Yeah. It's like, if you're not being true to yourself, you're lying. And when you lie, you got to come up with more lies to validate that lie, and it just builds and builds and builds. And for me, my brain's so ADD and scatterbrained that it is, I can't afford to be fake. I can't do it.
Yeah.
There's too much going on. So stay true to you. And just people will love you for you. You don't have to change. You don't have to change. Just be you.
Why is it so hard for people to understand that? And especially our generation in today's day and age.
I can tell you exactly why. The social media platforms, it's creating this fake reality. The reality on Instagram is not the reality in life. Like, you know, there's a lot more of things to be consumed as like growing up that's not right in front of our face. Like it's not like physically there. Everything that we consume is like digital media, Netflix, you know, everything is just on a screen now.
Yeah.
And it's not even in reality. I think does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
It does, at least from your perspective, because there's no definitive answer there. But I like that response. I think, social media being so accessible nowadays, especially to even the younger generations. Like, when I was 13, I barely had a phone.
Yeah.
Now, these kids they're 13, they've had phones for 6, 7, 8 years already.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of issues that stem from that, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, you have kids growing up nowadays, they don't know how to communicate with people in person. They're always on their phones. Obviously, social media allows you to be someone who you're not. It's so easy
if you let it.
if you let it, of course. But kids don't know any better, so
Yeah.
more times than not, they allow that stuff to consume them and shape who they are. And it's honestly, if you really sit back and think about it, it's honestly really scary to think about. But
Absolutely.
moving forward, you were, during all of that instability you went through in your life, you found something that was consistent, and that was entrepreneurship. Let's talk about where that entrepreneurial mindset started. You started selling, candy in school. You
Yeah.
started selling shoes.
Yeah.
How did that all come about? And why do you think it's so fulfilling for you?
Well, you did your homework. Kudos to you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Like my family does well, and like I love that my family can take care of me, but like I really wanted to take care of myself. And being like really far away from home, like nobody knows your family.
Yeah.
No one cares about your family. No one's asking about like what does mom and dad do, or you know what I mean? So it's all about you. It's like it's NIL now. It's about your name, your image, your likeness.
Yeah.
And like all of that I grew up with, that was stripped from me. Like people called me Grayson. That's my name. And then when I went to boarding school, I told people my name was Gray. Like I really embodied like really like repersonification, like rebranding myself. And so I really wanted to take care of myself. I wanted extra money too.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to buy things. Like I had to go grocery shopping, and like doing a lot of things on my own as like an 8th grader, 7th grader. But what got me into selling candy was I really like sneakers. So I always wanted the new release, right? As anyone
we
does.
all do, of course.
And man, I'm waiting for those military blue 4s to come out so bad.
Ooh.
Those are gonna be fire. But but my parents were like, "Nah, we're not getting you every release. You crazy? You're insane."
Yeah.
And I was like, I gotta find some way to like make this shake, because I really wanted it. And so I actually created. I would put like I'd go to Costco.
Yeah.
And get like the 20-pound bag of gummy bears, and then I'd buy like Kool-Aid. So then I would do 2 scoops of Kool-Aid with 15 gummy bears and like a little droplets of water, shake it together, so that I was making my own product.
Yeah. Was it in a bottle? In a bottle?
It was in a Ziploc
or in
bag.
a bag?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like little sandwich bags, and I would sell
Really?
them at school, and they were fire.
It sold?
Oh, yeah, it stole like crazy.
Yeah?
Yeah. I was able to like probably rack in like in a semester like probably 8,000
Yeah.
as an 8th grader. And I was cool with that too.
Yeah.
And plus all the money would just go right back into like reinvesting it. But I also learned about supply and demand. I learned about market differentiation, right? Because not everybody likes Kool-Aid and gummy bears. Like some people want chocolate, some people want licorice, some people want, and I was finding like those markets and everything. So really, and then I was able to get every release I wanted.
Yeah.
Jamie, I got every release I wanted selling candy.
Whew.
So the school came up to me because I started to get a little egotistical, and they were like, "You can't sell here." And then I found out what no soliciting meant at school.
Yeah.
And I lived at school, so it's not like I could be like, "Man, I'm just gonna sell it after." Because what I would do is I'll be like, I wouldn't even go to class. Like I would just get people, bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
I mean, I had tabs and everything, and I was running it up. But then they were like, "You can't sell candy anymore," and I was really salty. And then I went to what I was what I was doing to get what I wanted. But through that, I was learning about sneakers and the market and everything. This is before StockX and GOAT and all of that.
So you killed 2 birds with 1 stone, pretty much.
Yeah. So then, but like inherently, I was learning about sneakers and the market and everything, because I learned what a GR was, which is a general release. I learned what a quick strike was. A quick strike is like a very limited release for a sneaker. So then you have limited quantities, and usually you have higher demand on whenever you're doing that side of things. So, and I was learning this as a young kid, and I was joining like Facebook groups when Facebook groups were hot. Facebook groups used to be so hot. And that's how I sold like 60 to 70% of my sneakers was through Facebook groups.
Yeah.
Also, while being in boarding school, like I can't ship out. So I had my mom, shout out mom, I had my mom shipping out shoes
Oh, she a real one for that.
in Fort Worth as I was in South Austin.
Yeah.
So all of that, man, it's just like entrepreneur spirit, and like my margins moved up, right? I'm no longer selling like $10 bag of candy. I'm selling like a sneaker that I bought for $180 for like $300 or $250. Yeah, you know, your margin just increased, right?
Yeah.
And now you're talking to like not your friends, right? You're talking to like grown people with grown money. And so Facebook kind of helped me create this persona where it wasn't what's it called? Like you didn't know you were getting sold sneakers to by like a 15-year-old, cuz I was just wheeling and dealing on Facebook groups and then finding people like stores to buy it repeatedly.
Yeah.
Returning customers, learned about that. So all of that, man, it's just always been my spirit, my hustle, and I've never had to do it, right? I've always been pretty comfortable. Like I've always been taken care of like financially.
Mm-hmm.
But to do it myself and bring my own like connections into it, like this is not anybody else but me.
It's you.
That is like so fulfilling to me.
Yeah.
And some people are cool with like
just living off.
Sure.
Yeah.
But not me.
I fucking love that, dude. Yeah, man, you're a fucking dog, Grayson.
I appreciate it.
From however old you were, like 8, 9, 11, whatever.
8th grade, yeah. That's when I really started going, yeah.
Dog, dude.
Yeah. I would get clowned on too. I would get clowned on by everybody. It was so cool though. They're not losers, but
talk your shit.
I mean, a lot of people who hated on the sneakers and hated on the candy selling, a lot of them they got the same education I did, but they are doing significantly less. And it's all because I wasn't afraid of like being myself. Back to what you said.
Back to that, yep.
I ain't afraid to be me. Okay, you don't have to buy my candy, but when your best friend's buying it from me, you now want it.
Yeah.
So it all just works out, man.
Back in the day, I would have called it Stock G, not Stock A. Stock G. You did have one incident where your parents almost told you to stop. Well, they did tell you to stop. You're selling shoes one time, and go ahead and tell that story.
This was on Easter, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on Easter Day. I was selling it after church. I was like, I'm going to go make a deal real quick because I was in town for that brief moment. So I really like whenever I was able to make it back into Fort Worth, like local deals, like I would stack my deals and just do it all at once. But yeah, I got a gun pulled on me. He robbed me. And
you're how old at this time?
Maybe a freshman in high school.
Crazy.
Yeah. I almost didn't give him the shoes. Dude. I was like, I'm going to give him these shoes.
Well, you would have given him your life if you didn't.
I know. I didn't even, but like, who would have known if he actually had like bullets in the chamber?
Yeah,
but I was still very like scary.
Yeah, of course.
But my parents were like, you got to stop. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to stop. Like, I'll be more careful. But I got 7 figures worth of shit to sell. Like,
yeah.
You just want me to eat that? Like, nah. Like, I got to keep going.
What was their response?
How'd
they take it?
Of me not stopping?
Yeah.
I've always been me. I've always done me. They're like, this is Grayson. Hopefully he's not going to die over this stupid stuff. But yeah. I was really careful. But like at the same time, I got scammed like over a dozen times. I made bad sales like when I should have held. All that was like a huge learning curve for me.
Yeah.
So meet up in public places. Don't meet at apartment complexes.
Oh no.
Simple. Yeah. Simple things I probably should have known.
Simple fix. So you ended up finishing school right after you came back from Ole Miss. You left Ole Miss, came back home. You finished school?
Yeah, I finished school at Tarleton State University, my father's alma mater. So I'm glad I could do that. It was all online.
Okay.
But at the same time, I was actually delivering PPE, mask, gloves, gowns, hand sanitizer to over our facilities, over 100 locations.
Yeah.
So I was like driving to Lubbock and back, El Paso and back, all the other small rural areas in Texas and back. And I had a lot of time to myself. I had a lot of time on the road. and a lot of time to think. And that really provided me a lot of reflection. And so I came out of 2020 kind of a different person, like pretty much a different person.
So transitioning to 2021, is this is where you really started to pick up the NIL after, you know, everything got passed and started being enacted into colleges. What was your first taste of NIL and the time you specifically got into it?
First taste of NIL was with a 5-star wide receiver out at the University of Texas, Joshua Moore.
I remember him. I'm a Horns fan. So,
yeah. So
that's my guy.
That was my first player that I signed. This is before I started my LLC, so he took a chance on me. Shout out to Joshua, I appreciate it. We did a Champion deal, a deal with Champion, which initially I never thought I could do. My first deal ever is with Champion. Like,
where'd you even meet Josh?
I met Joshua in a spring break trip. One of my buddies this is insane. One of my buddies, he tore his knee or whatever, and his trip was already paid for and everything. And he's like, hey, you know, I can't go, but all you need is a flight. Do you want to go on a trip? And I was like, sure, I'll go. Like, you know what I mean? And like, who doesn't do that? Who doesn't take that? And this guy at the time, he was a good friend of mine in high school. And then I show up, and it's like, so I show up, and it's like the University of Texas's football team's spring break. Like, I'm in the same house.
So you didn't even know you were going to be there.
Yeah. Them. They were like, what sport do you play? And I was like, none. I don't play any sports. What do y'all do? Because I don't even watch college sports at this time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even watch. I'm a pro NBA guy. That's it. That's all I know. I was like, what do y'all do? I mean, dude, there's like Sam Ellinger in the room. There's Bijan Robinson. There's Joshua Moore in the room. Like, there's people, Luke Brockemeyer.
Tavondre Sweat was probably there.
Yeah, Sweat was there. And I was like, well, what do y'all do? Like an idiot. And like, we play football. I was like, cool. I don't, didn't really care. I was just more like there to have a good time and just meet with them and have a good time. Ended up really bonding with these dudes, right? Ended up watching a little bit more college football, obviously. And I was filming them doing like workouts because they had to send it back to their positions coach. So that was kind of like my first time, like, being somewhat in the mix. Really connected with Joshua that trip. Him and I really hit it off. And then at the same time, the law was being passed. Not enacted. It was just being passed by the NCAA. And I wasn't going to be this guy like, do you guys see you guys can make money? Or nah, I was just like, how do they not know this is happening? Yeah. And they didn't. Nobody knew. Really nobody knew. And they really didn't want to tell their players that this was happening because that means the slice out of their pie kind of goes away.
Of course.
But I just upheld those connections. And I remember I was in Colorado. I was in Telluride, Colorado, and I reached out to every single person I met on spring break who played D1 sports. Some of them responded. Some of them were like, But Joshua was like, yeah, let's do it. And, I was like, let me make your logo. Let me do your marketing. Let me do your branding. And let me see if I can get a deal to happen. Why I thought I could do this, I don't know. I don't know why I thought I could do this. But something in me felt like, maybe I can, make something shake. Like, I can really, like, let me see if I can do this. And initially I reached out to a lot of local companies, like, streetwear. Yeah. None of them responded, like, really, like, none of them responded, or they just weren't interested, or they thought they were going to get in trouble with the NCAA, right?
You were still new at that point.
Like, the conversation was, like, trying to break down what NIL was to, like, a company.
Yeah.
So, and then I was like, go big, go home. So I reached out to, like, Nike, Adidas, Lululemon, Champion, Trunk Fit. I even reached out to Trunk Fit, DC, Supra, like any company ever. And it wasn't like some copy paste email. It was like personal email sent like 6 times over.
Yeah.
And then I got response back from Champion, and I was like blown away. They're like, we would love to have this opportunity to partner with blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I remember reading the email like 10 times to myself to like make sure I wasn't getting like scammed or something. And I was like, no, this is the email I reached out to. We did a signature box with a Champion shirt with a graphic on the front of him catching a touchdown. And then his logo on the back. It was double stitched. It was heavy too. It was a heavy shirt. It was like quality as hell. Like I did like, they sent me 10 different t-shirts. Like, send me one. No, that ain't. Send me another one. No, that ain't it. Like, I was like, if I can put it up to the light and see through it, I don't want it.
Yeah.
Like I wanted my first deal to be like quality. And so we were able to find those t-shirts. It was a custom box with a bracelet with Joshua Moore, his number, a numbered autograph, and that t-shirt, and that sold out. It sold out, but then he ended up entering the transfer portal, which kind of pretty much terminated the deal, which ended up, I had to pay JMO. So I paid him, but then I had to pay back.
Yeah, the rest. Yeah.
So a non-profitable deal, but it was the first deal ever at the University of Texas. So at least I could, tote that around.
First deal ever at the University of Texas.
Yeah.
Damn, how does that feel?
I was 21.
Sheesh.
21, 22. So I felt like I was like unstoppable, but I was also defeated. And I was like, do I keep going? Like I was like, do I keep going or do I like be like, but I kept going, man.
Making connections is something that is huge.
Right.
Especially with what we're doing now. Like media, you're doing your NIL. How important is it to be able to converse with other people, to be able to connect with other people with good intentions, obviously, but with intention nonetheless? How important is that to get to where you want to go in anything?
Be genuine first, and it's everything. That's why like being able to communicate and talk and like really connect with people and like actually like talk to them in person, it's such like a valuable trait now, because like our generation is not talking anymore. They're like on their phones, and they'd rather consume content than create it. But there's saturation of content though, so there's that.
So it's like,
but a lot of people really can't talk, and they can't communicate with adults. They don't know how to hold a conversation. They're scared. They're scared about risk taking. They're scared about like the whole failure thing. I did a podcast with Jamie Story on Now It's Legal. He was one of the original Supreme designers back in the 90s. Like he had an office in New York at one of the first Supreme offices. Dude's a G. And he said, one thing I really took away from it was, he says, just expect you're going to fail and let that be it. Like, expect to fail. It's like if you fail and you win, boom, great. If you fail, if you're expecting to fail and then you fail, boom, back to the drawing board. So that's kind of the mentality you have to have, and just reach out and be a genuine person. And it's not for everybody. Go find your niche. Go find your passion. Honestly, don't start another podcast. There's so many going on now. Like, the reason why I started my podcast is because I was waiting on journalism. I was doing all this cool stuff, creating all these deals, creating collectives, selling them back to alumni. I was like really making a name for myself, is what I thought I was. And nobody was writing about it. And hell, I didn't do this to be written about. I just was like, where's my recognition?
Yeah.
That ain't coming. Nobody's writing about you. So I started a podcast to like make a name for myself and also connect with the players. Like, there were so many phone calls that I had. I was like, is somebody hearing this? Like, I'm talking with, guys at USC and UCLA. I'm talking to Texas. I'm talking to Quinn Ewers. I'm talking to Bijan. I'm talking to like Joshua Moore. And like, these are like, at the time, I really didn't know how significant it was.
Mm-hmm.
But then I look back, I was like, damn, these guys trust me.
Yeah.
Like, these dudes trust me.
You had to put in perspective.
Yeah.
Damn. Like, I'm really here.
Like, I'm really doing this.
Yeah.
And, like, other people would be like, oh, dude, that's Grayson. Oh, he did this, in NIL. I'm like, oh, damn. So I created a podcast to open up my platform to not only to talk to D1 athletes, but entrepreneurs, business people, like-minded people, but then also, you know, do deal breakdowns and have people understand NIL more. Because people still come up to me and they're like, you do cool stuff, but I don't know what NIL is still, you know, because there's all these numbers floating around and there's all this happening, and then you only see certain people getting paid, don't see everybody getting paid, and it's like, how does this work?
Yeah.
And yeah, so if I can create a platform that creates a better understanding of a new and emerging industry, perfect.
Did you have an interview with, not an interview, talk on the phone with Clutch Sports?
Yeah. Yes.
You really
Mr.
talked to Clutch
Homework
Sports
over here. Yeah.
Man,
so I was actually.
I need to know about that experience, dude.
So at the time I was still in college. I was still a senior in college, taking the most hours that I've ever taken. So I had a lot going on, like I had a lot of anxiety about finishing school, but I also had a lot of stress about finishing school, but then starting my business and not wanting to fail and not be a loser. And like my father owns a really successful company, and I didn't want to be that kid who like started shit and can't finish it type thing. So I was able to. So one of my good buddies, John Merrifield, he got me in contact because he used to work with Clutch Sports and KCP when KCP was with the Lakers.
Yeah.
It's so funny. He started off the conversation like, do you know who KCP is? And he didn't even know I was like the biggest Laker fan ever. I was like, dude, yes, I know who KCP is. That's Kentavious Caldwell Pope, has one of the longest names in the NBA.
Yeah.
Quick fact. But nonetheless, I was able to really pick his brain. And then I brought like a portfolio of like all the work that I had done up until that, which is like literally nothing compared to now. So I was able to kind of get into contact with one of their current agents. And dude, I had a literal panic attack. Like, It's not like I wasn't ready for it, but like the moment wasn't bigger than me. Like, I'm not going to say that because that's giving power to something that doesn't have power over me. I literally like would mute myself. Like, I was like, you know, in the middle of it, like I could feel my chest tighten up. I'm like, what the fuck? You know, what's happening?
Yeah.
And like, I remember like them talking to me, and anytime that they were talking, I would press mute on myself and be like, like I couldn't breathe. I was like I couldn't breathe at all. Like I needed like an asthma device, bro, like an inhaler. And I like, it got to a point where like I couldn't even finish sentences, and they were like, "Are you okay? Like, are you okay?" And I was like, "Let me call you back tomorrow." Like, and like my body, like I literally couldn't breathe.
Yeah. So when you hung up the phone, how did you feel? Like, were you
I felt
just
like a
damn.
failure.
Yeah.
I felt like a loser.
Because it's like, do you know who you're talking to?
Yeah.
Clutch Sports.
Yeah.
And
Clutch Sports. Yeah, the one that manages LeBron James. Yeah, I know who Clutch Sports is.
And then it's like, damn, did I just fuck it up?
Right, and I didn't though. I literally, I now meditate, and I now do like lots of things to like get my mind right. But I literally just like chugged a bunch of water and like sat in silence for like 10 minutes and kind of like, I guess I was meditating at this point now that I think about it. I just like took like deep breaths. Like, you know how you say, oh, take like 10 deep breaths. I was taking like 100, bro.
Yeah.
Like I was just trying to get my chest not to feel like I didn't have any air in it. And I called them back. Like 45 minutes later. Luckily they answered. And I said, I was like, you know, I was just honest with them. I said, you know, like, I just kind of fronted, was like, I had to get my inhaler. Like they're like, oh, okay. I was like, let's get back on the call. Let's make things happen. And their agents were like able to join in on the phone call, and I was still able to make a connection and everything like that. I still talk to those guys still.
Yeah.
I've been working with Fred VanVleet's agent now.
I saw that.
I work with his agent now, 721 House, possibly. And he's been great. But honestly, like talking to one of like Clutch Sports agents really validated me in a way that I'll never be able to pay them, because like not only did I like hang up on them technically, they answered my call again and took it because they wanted to hear like what I had to say.
Yeah.
And they kind of directed me in the right way. I can't really talk on specifics, but they really did direct me in the right way and was able to really plug me in with some fire universities. And it really gave me the confidence to go reach out to other firms, other pro firms. There's a bunch. There's just literally too many. But
yeah,
that was legendary. That was legendary, and I didn't even know in the moment.
Who has been your favorite person to interview on your podcast now?
Oh, that's unfair.
So far, your favorite interview that you've done. Maybe it's the conversation you had or just the connection you had with a certain individual.
Okay, so I really enjoy every conversation that I have with people. Of course,
yeah.
Man, why you do this? Let me say, I'm going to say Andy House.
Okay.
Andy House was the guy in like 2009 who drove his Bugatti into the lake. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It ended up being like insurance fraud or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. But he is such a good dude and like really welcomed me into his, and everybody's been welcoming, but he really like welcomed me in. And like the first thing he said in the interview, or like off camera, he's like, "Man, you just have this energy about you. I really believe in you." I was
like, damn.
Yeah. He's like, because other people have been trying to get him on a podcast and he wouldn't take it, but he took mine. And at the time, I didn't even really have the following like I do now, and I still don't, honestly. And he was like, you just got this thing about you, man. You got it going on. I believe in what you do. And then the conversation was so like just fluid. Plus, I love cars. And I was doing an interview that I'd never done before, which was like on cars and on entrepreneur. So that was pretty dope. But I got to say, Jamie's story, which is one I just dropped last week, bro, like I ran into him on the street.
Wow.
Yeah. And then he had like a shop called Extra. And
where's this at?
This is in Los Angeles.
In LA.
I was shooting podcasts in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And I was with my camera guy, and we were walking to get something to eat. We saw Extra. We went in, and we just started just shooting it. Jamie's story, like, I ran into him, and he just started shooting, just chatting with me, and was like, I was like, yeah, I do a podcast and this. And he was like, I was like, well, whenever I'm in LA again, which I don't know, I'm going to be in LA, I'll do it with you. He says, well, how much time you got on you now? And I had just finished up like a 3-hour podcast because, it takes a lot more than what's on camera.
Of course.
And I was just like dead, bro. I was like, I was dead. I just finished it.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, let's set up and do it. And I looked at my camera guy like, fuck.
We got to do it.
Yeah.
Like we got to do it.
And I didn't even know he was like supreme. I didn't even know anything about him being a skater in the 90s. I had no idea that he was a pro skater. I had no idea that he was a part of the original design team. I knew none of this. All of this unraveled on the podcast.
Yeah.
And then I realized who I'm sitting next to. I'm like, oh, shit. Yeah. So, yeah. That and Eric Park. Eric Park, owner of Band LA. Absolutely incredible story. Gifted me like 2 signature boxes. We opened up. It was like an out of 50 Ronald Acuna Jr. autograph. Ooh. That's legendary. So I'm sure he was a little salty that I pulled it, but I was happy that I did.
Man, one final question for you. With all the success that you've had so far, it comes with a lot of sacrifices that had to be made, especially with the people around you, friends, family, etc. For you to get to where you are right now, for you to get to where you want to go, sacrifices have been a part of it, right?
For sure.
How hard is it to maybe leave some people behind, or to maybe just branch off and go off on your own?
I don't think it's hard. I think it's like almost like obvious. It's like I need to do this because I want to get somewhere.
Really?
yeah, I feel like it's like really easy to let people go, because like they see what you're doing, and they if they don't see that, then they weren't supposed to be there from the jump. Like, what really helped me take that really big step forward is I quit drinking during the week. Not that I was like a crazy drinker, but nightcaps and things like that. I quit drinking, and I quit smoking marijuana. And that allowed me to like really take a huge jump, because then it allowed me to identify my friends who were bad influences on me. I was so clear-headed and so driven. People were like, what's going on with you? What's wrong with you? Like, I was like, dude, no, I got to do, like, there's money and time and everything. Money is time. Time is money. Like, as an entrepreneur, you know this. Like, as a podcaster, you know this. Like, well, do I want to, like, some weeks just chill? There's, like, never. Like, your weekend when you're with, like, the Renegades?
Covering the, Arlington Renegades.
Arlington Renegades? Like, dude, not saying there's something better to do, but that's time and energy that you will never get back.
Yep.
Like, hours of time that you put in, you're not going to get those back. Gone. Goodbye. But they could be hanging out with friends.
Yep.
It could be like playing Call of Duty or something. It could be doing something better with your time. But you choose to take your passion and channel your energy towards that. That's why I tell people, I don't really play video games. Man, why don't you play video games? Because I want to be the best. And the only way to be the best is to put time. And I ain't got the time for that. So I don't play it. I don't watch a lot of TV shows. Why? Because I don't have the time to watch a damn TV show. A movie. I'll watch a movie. Any great movie recommendations, hit me with it. If you got a series that you're talking about, oh, we can just binge it for a couple of days, I ain't your friend. I'm not the friend to do that, at least.
But, okay, so it's so hard for people to let others go that they've been close with for so long, whether it be friends or family. Because, those people just don't understand your drive and determination in what you're trying to accomplish.
Yes, I can show you a text. I can show you a text message where like I had been maybe distanced or not, they think I'm being some type of way, because like I'm just so driven, and that's like, it's not that I'm selfish. It's on my mind.
Yeah.
There's a reason why I'm on Earth.
Yeah.
And I refuse to sit here and like just let shit come.
Settle for anything.
I'm not gonna let shit come. Hey, ergo, it's never gonna come to you. Never. You have to go to it.
And what I want people to realize is that it's okay if your quote unquote friends don't understand the commitment you have to put into a certain project, into your career field, into your entrepreneurship, your business, anything.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's not for them to understand.
Yeah.
It's not for them to understand.
Yeah, I got a text message right here. I said, I want to apologize for my lack of absence. And this person says, I appreciate the apology, but I have accepted that our values of friendship will never align. You do not respect anyone's time unless it's beneficial to you. There are many reasons I have decided to weed you out of my garden. Beyond our friendship, I have no interest in rekindling our friendship, but I will always cheer for your success from afar.
Okay.
Perfect.
Stand on it.
That's what I'm saying. So, but like, there's multiple texts I can show you where people say, you don't respect my time. Your lack of communication. And it's like, no. My priorities are not on this friendship. My priorities are not like here to like make you feel good. Like, you know what's going on. Like, if you want to know what's going on with me, check out my social media. Like, if you want to call me, that's what kills me. Is people want to text me these long ass paragraphs, or just like want to go tit for tat back and forth. I can't do that shit.
I don't have
Pick
time.
up the phone.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone. In 2024, if you are 30 and below, learn to pick up the phone and call people, not even your friends, talk about businesses, or even jobs that you're trying to get, if you pick up the phone and call, you won't believe what happens. Like, people who are like 35 and up, like who own businesses and have like real money going on and have like real, you know what I mean? Like real things going on. If you pick up the phone and call them, dude, they think you're like an alien.
Yeah.
They're like, whoa, I can't believe. Hey, you got 5 minutes on you? Great. Blah, 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 blah. And they hang up the phone and they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
This is, it's like a superpower. It's because none of our age group is doing that.
Man, I'll leave it off with this. I tell people, and shout out to Dr. John Deloney for this quote. He's a mental health guy who works with he worked in a school with kids. He does a lot of stuff psychologically.
Mm-hmm.
Choose guilt over resentment every single time. So when it comes to people around you that don't understand your grind or what you're trying to accomplish in life, I rather feel guilty that our friendship has been fractured or no longer intact than the resentment I would feel if I didn't accomplish what I know I was able to accomplish just because I wanted to keep this.
Yes, there's so many times where people will,
and people might say that's selfish, but at the end of the day, dude, we're not going to be here forever. We're not here forever.
I can't, what I won't have is mediocre people around me.
Can't.
And what I won't have is me in 5 to 10 years saying, what if? Bro, I'm straight Kobe mentality with that. Nope. Yeah. There's no way. There's no way because I'm going to outwork you. There's no way because I'm going to turn over every rock. And there's not going to be a bit of, oh, what if? No.
Dude, that's one. This girl asked me one time. She was like, "What's your biggest fear?" And I've never really thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
Always, I fucking hate roller coasters. I will say that. No. Six Flags is big out here in North Texas, y'all. No, I'm not getting on that. But she's like, "What's your biggest fear in life?" Damn. I looked at the text. I was just like, put the phone down, thought about it for a little bit. What is my biggest fear? At first, it was nothing.
Sure.
But I thought about it a little bit more, and I'm just like, dude, nothing fears me more than putting in all this work and it all be for nothing.
Yeah.
I just especially knowing that I have the ability. I just have to apply myself. And knowing that whatever I want is on the other side of this.
Not that you can see it, because I don't know people. To expel on what you said, it's like, okay, I know where I want to be, I know what I want to do, but I don't necessarily know where this is gonna take me. But I know I've invested a shit ton of money, time, resources, and all of that.
Yeah.
And I'd be damned if it's gonna go to waste.
Like you said earlier, nothing is guaranteed, nothing's set in stone.
Dude, I could literally die tomorrow.
Literally.
And I would still drop 3 podcasts every week. Or I would still drop a pod every week.
Hey, I'll have my producers drop it. If I'm not dropping it, they're going to drop it for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Grayson, man, I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy-ass schedule to, sit here with me for an hour or so. Wish it was longer. We might have to do a part 2 later on. There's a lot more I would love to get into, especially with me being in sports media.
I know, we got to do something.
I would love to get more insight on NIL and what goes on behind the scenes in terms of the deals that are being made and just the partnerships that are being created and all the logistics that go into it.
Yeah,
it's really fascinating, and it helps me out as well.
Yeah,
be more knowledgeable. So, but dude, you're a fucking dog.
This is our third time actually talking to
dog, and it's I worked at Fitness Connection for so long, and I've seen you
every
now and then.
Yeah.
But never really made an interaction.
Yeah.
And then Angie told me about you.
Yeah.
And I was like, shout out to Angie.
Shout out Angie.
You're a real one. So I was glad she was able to connect me with you.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
It's great. So, any final words, man?
Yeah. Dope podcast. Go check out mine. It's legal podcast because it used to be illegal to pay these athletes. Name, image, likeness does not just stop at the collegiate level. It's all about your name, image, and likeness and how people perceive you, brands and entrepreneurs. And take a risk, take a chance, bet on you. Bet on you. That's the best thing you can do. Winning is not for sure, but what is for sure is death. So let's ride.
Let's ride.
All right.
If y'all are watching this, subscribe to the One of One podcast. Subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Instagram. Follow Grayson. Does a lot of good work. Very inspirational of a dude. Even if y'all are not in NIL circles at all or an athlete at all, this is just someone y'all need to tap in with just because he's so inspirational and so, a fucking dog. I'll leave it at that.
Grayson Blake NIL. That's my Instagram name.
There you go.
Grayson Blake NIL. Let's go.
Appreciate you,
Bro,
man.
appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But to finish this thing out, y'all, as I always say, be different. Be a one of one. We're out. Peace.
Peace.